Did you know that tariffs could add $3,000 or more to the price of your next car? And if you're planning to buy a new vehicle in 2025, you could be paying record-high prices thanks to new trade policies. But here's the good news. There are ways to beat the system and save thousands. Stick around, because by the end of this video, we'll show you exactly how to do it. But first, let's get into the basics. What exactly are tariffs, and why do they matter so much for car prices? Tariffs represent a fundamental aspect of international trade, serving as taxes that governments impose when products cross national borders. The most prevalent form emerges as import tariffs, where nations charge fees on incoming goods. Though less common, some countries also implement export tariffs on outbound products, creating a complex web of international trade relations. Nations typically implement tariffs for two distinct purposes that shape their economic landscape. Protective tariffs serve as a shield for domestic industries by making foreign products more expensive, effectively encouraging consumers to choose local alternatives. Revenue tariffs, alternatively, function primarily as a method for governments to generate income for their operations. Okay, so now that we know what tariffs are, let's look at how they've changed car prices over time. The automotive industry feels the ripple effects of steel and aluminum tariffs throughout its production chain. The Department of Commerce's investigation revealed a straightforward connection. When manufacturers face higher costs for raw materials, these expenses inevitably transfer to consumers through increased vehicle prices. There was another in-depth study of this phenomenon, examining the metal content in modern vehicles and calculating the tariff's impact. This research aligned with the Commerce Department's findings, indicating that these metal tariffs could push new vehicle prices upward by approximately 1%. These metal tariffs create similar waves in the salvage market, where raw material costs directly influence the value of scrapped vehicles and parts. As materials become more expensive, salvage vehicles gain value. The market responds to numerous additional factors beyond metal prices, including currency exchange rates, economic growth patterns, unemployment levels, average wages, and the general availability of salvage vehicles at auction sites across the country. The Peterson Institute's comprehensive research into automotive component tariffs revealed even more significant price implications. Their analysis examined historical data from the 1980s, specifically focusing on Japanese truck and motorcycle import tariffs. By combining this historical perspective with current foreign parts content in popular American vehicles, they discovered that a 25% tariff on automotive parts would substantially increase vehicle prices. Compact cars would see price increases of 8.4%, while compact SUVs would face 9.3% increases. Luxury SUVs would experience the most dramatic change, with prices rising by 13.4%. These findings covered approximately 20% of all vehicles sold in 2017. The relationship between new and used vehicle prices demonstrates a clear economic pattern. As new vehicle prices climb, used vehicles become increasingly attractive to consumers who find themselves priced out of the new car market. This shift in consumer behavior prompts used car dealers to adjust their pricing upward, responding to the heightened demand for pre-owned vehicles. In September 2018, the United States Trade Representative implemented a significant change by introducing a 10% tariff on roughly $10 billion worth of automotive parts imported from China. We'll go in depth on it later, but the cumulative impact of these various tariffs creates a complex economic picture affecting both domestic and international consumers. Research indicates that steel and aluminum tariffs alone could trigger a 1% increase in new vehicle prices, with a corresponding effect on used car values. Component tariffs potentially carry even greater implications, with some estimates suggesting new vehicle prices could rise by as much as 14.6%. The used car market continues to respond to these changes, as the growing price gap between new and used vehicles drives increased demand for pre-owned options. While scrap prices have moderated somewhat from their April 2018 peak, they remain elevated when accounting for typical seasonal variations, further illustrating the lasting impact of these trade policies on the automotive industry. Speaking of trade wars, let's take a trip down memory lane and explore three major ones that shaped the global car market as we know it today. The story of modern trade wars weaves through three pivotal chapters, each showing how global commerce transformed from the 1980s to today. These battles reshaped industries, changed consumer choices, and redefined how nations compete. In the 1980s, Japan's rise triggered the first major clash. Japanese companies mastered the art of making high-quality products at competitive prices. Their cars offered remarkable fuel efficiency just when Americans wanted it most. Electronics like Sony's Walkman dominated global markets. America watched its trade deficit grow as Japanese products filled store shelves. The response came in waves. Car exports faced strict limits. Computer chips got minimum price requirements. The 1985 Plaza Accord deliberately weakened the dollar against the yen to help American companies compete. But Japanese firms adapted brilliantly. They built factories in America, created luxury brands, and emerged stronger than before. Fast forward to 2002, when American steel faced its own crisis. President Bush imposed tariffs up to 30% on steel imports to protect domestic producers. Steel prices rose, helping U.S. mills but squeezing industries that needed steel, from car makers to construction firms. European allies threatened retaliation, targeting American products from motorcycles to oranges. The tariffs lasted less than 2 years, ending after international pressure and mixed economic results. By 2018, trade battles entered new territory with the China tariffs. Unlike previous focused restrictions, these tariffs targeted a broad range of products such as industrial machinery, electronics, consumer goods. China hit back, particularly aiming at American farmers. Companies scrambled to adapt, moving production to other countries or absorbing higher costs. Each trade war taught similar lessons. Protected industries got breathing room but faced pressure to modernize. Companies proved remarkably adaptable, finding new ways to compete. Trade restrictions often had unexpected effects. Japan's car makers created luxury brands, steel users faced higher costs, and Chinese tariffs reshaped global supply chains. Together, these three trade wars tell a story of global commerce becoming more complex and interconnected. From Japan's economic rise through America's steel industry struggles to China's economic emergence, each conflict changed how nations trade and compete. The effects continue today, influencing everything from where products are made to how much consumers pay for their goods. If you're finding these trade war tales gripping, just wait until you see how they impact the cars we drive every day. Smash that like button and subscribe for more engaging stories from the world of wheels. Now that we've seen how trade wars have played out in the past, let's take a closer look at how similar policies are affecting the car market today. In February 2025, President Donald Trump introduced a 25% tariff on vehicle imports and components from Canada, along with a new 10% duty on imports from China, effective February 4th. Following the announcement of a comparable 25% tariff on Mexico, President Trump and Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum declared that an agreement has been made to prolong the pause on tariffs for 1 month. The Trump administration states that the new tariffs target the influx of fentanyl and immigration from Canada and Mexico into the U.S. Nonetheless, this policy could also jeopardize a highly integrated auto industry, with approximately 90% of auto exports from both Mexico and Canada directed to the U.S. Flavio Volpi, head of Canada's Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, cautions that the tariffs might lead to a halt in auto production. As automotive supply chains face threats, U.S. automakers located just over the border may be significantly affected as early as this month. So, what does all of this mean for car prices in the near future? Brace yourself because the numbers might shock you. The tariffs are projected to increase costs for the auto industry by around $60 billion. A significant portion of that expense is anticipated to be transferred to consumers. As the typical price of a new car is already close to all-time highs, an additional $3,000 per vehicle could entirely exclude some buyers from the market. In February 2025, the typical price of a new car was $49,740. Due to the increasing costs of tariffs, the prices of new cars are set to exceed $50,000 for the first time. For car manufacturers, Increased expenses will probably lead to a reduction in production and job cuts. Manufacturing centers in Detroit, Ontario, and throughout Mexico may face thousands of job cuts as businesses find it hard to manage the increased expenses. If you're worried about how these tariffs might affect your next car purchase, don't panic. Later in this video, we'll share 3 practical strategies to help you save money, no matter what happens with tariffs. Stay tuned. But why exactly do car prices go up when tariffs are imposed? Let's find out. Cars face unique tariff challenges because of their complex manufacturing process. The modern vehicle represents a global jigsaw puzzle, with parts crossing borders multiple times before becoming a finished car. Take the steering wheel as an example. Its journey shows how intricate car manufacturing has become. Electronic sensors start in Germany, travel to America for initial assembly, then move to Mexico for leather stitching, before finally returning to US factories for installation. Each border crossing potentially faces tariffs. This multi-step process makes cars especially vulnerable to trade restrictions. While simpler products might cross borders once or twice, vehicle components can make several international trips. Each crossing adds potential costs through tariffs. Car companies can't simply pass these costs to buyers. With average new car prices around $48,000 as of late 2023, manufacturers and dealers often absorb some tariff costs to keep vehicles affordable. The market won't support endless price increases. Looking ahead to 2025, experts see some bright spots. Many vehicles hitting dealerships early that year are already built or in production, protecting them from new tariff impacts. Interest rates are dropping from recent highs, with new car loans averaging 9.01% and trending lower. Dealers plan to offer more incentives to attract buyers. The auto industry's unique supply chain makes it especially sensitive to trade policies. Each car represents dozens of international partnerships, thousands of parts, and multiple border crossings. Understanding this helps explain why vehicles often face special attention in trade discussions and tariff decisions. Now, let's take a closer look at which car brands are likely to be most affected by these tariff changes. General Motors stands to feel the biggest impact. In 2024, GM brought about 750,000 vehicles across the borders. These weren't just small cars, but their most important models. The Chevy Silverado and GMC Sierra trucks come from these plants, along with their newest electric vehicles like the Equinox and Blazer. Nissan follows with large numbers too. Their Mexican factories built 505,000 vehicles in just 9 months of 2024. These plants make everyday cars that many Americans buy. The Sentra, Versa, and the popular Kicks SUV. Ford runs 3 plants in Mexico and has another in Oakville, Canada. In just half of 2024, they shipped 196,000 vehicles north, with 90% heading to US dealerships. Stellantis, formerly Chrysler, builds some of America's favorite vehicles in Mexico. The Ram pickup trucks and vans roll out of their Saltillo plant, while the Jeep Compass comes from Toluca. They also make cars in Ontario, Canada. Toyota faces an interesting challenge. Every single Tacoma pickup truck, over 230,000 sold in 2023, now comes from Mexico. The German brands have big stakes too. Audi's Mexican plant made 176,000 Q5 SUVs in 2023. BMW builds several popular models in San Luis Potosi: the 3 Series, 2 Series Coupe, and M2. Volkswagen makes the Jetta, Tiguan, and Taos in their Puebla factory. Honda sends 80% of its Mexican-made vehicles to America, while Kia builds both their own vehicles and Hyundai Santa Fe SUVs in Mexico. Mazda shipped 120,000 cars north in 2023 and might change their future plans because of these tariffs. Each company faces tough choices about where to build their cars as these new trade rules take effect. So, what can you, as a car buyer, do to navigate these choppy waters and still get a great deal on your next vehicle? Here are 3 practical tips. With the typical price of a new car hovering around $50,000 or more, purchasers will need to think outside the box to lower expenses. Here are several strategies car buyers can use to save money, despite tariffs-related price hikes in 2025. Number 1. Think about certified pre-owned rather than new. The most effective method to reduce expenses on a vehicle is to purchase a pre-owned one. That's an obvious choice. However, pre-owned vehicles can be complex. Older vehicles with high mileage are the least expensive, but they also tend to have more breakdowns and demand expensive repairs. Conversely, a new vehicle is typically protected by a warranty for multiple years, which means no unforeseen repair expenses. However, a certified pre-owned CPO car is a good compromise. CPO cars, bought from a dealership, cost less than a new vehicle because, as implied by the term, they have previously been owned. Nonetheless, the CPO designation usually indicates that the vehicle has low mileage, has undergone a comprehensive inspection, and includes some form of warranty as a guarantee. Number 2. Purchase at the optimal moment. The tax season often brings significant sales promotions at auto dealerships, perfectly aligned with your tax refund. Additionally, traditional beliefs suggest that salespeople are more inclined to present a favorable deal when they urgently need to meet their targets at the close of the month, quarter, or year. December is an ideal time to purchase a car, specifically. However, there is an alternative time to think about making a purchase. At the conclusion of a model year. This differs from the conclusion of a calendar year, though. For example, when a car manufacturer begins selling the 2026 version of a car, they will aim to clear out the 2025 models swiftly, resulting in significant discounts. Number 3. Perform your necessary research. A small amount of research can make a significant difference. Spend some time comparing models to discover the best value, and choose the vehicle that meets all your criteria while being the least expensive. Remember to consider manufacturer incentives, unique financing deals, and rebates. Utilize this automobile comparison spreadsheet to begin. Emphasize the overall ownership cost, factoring in fuel efficiency and upkeep. For example, you can gauge the miles you travel in a month, check current fuel prices, and determine how much each car you're evaluating will cost in gas, according to your driving patterns and each car's specific fuel efficiency. Make sure to take a moment to review your credit score. To secure the most favorable interest rates on a car loan, your credit score should be 800 or above. If your score is low, or if you're only a few points short of a threshold that could qualify you for a lower rate, take 3 to 6 months to improve your score by reducing your debts and lowering your credit utilization. You can also investigate strategies for negotiating when purchasing a vehicle. Entering the dealership with confidence in your ability to guide the discussion can significantly impact the outcome. So there you have it, how tariffs are driving up car prices and what you can do to save thousands. Whether you're buying new or used, these tips can help you navigate the 2025 market like a pro. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more practical advice. And if you're ready for more expert tips, check out this next video. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.